Put the X up, archives, put your X in the archive. Make sure you're leaving those comments in the archives as most of you watch my channel in the archives, and make sure you're hitting that notify me, that alert button, all that good stuff. So you're catching this when we come on. Um, a lot to talk about still from Saturday night. I feel like I want to transition past the face of boxing thing and get into more substance talk about Tank Davis, the division at 135, the division at 168. There's PBC talk. Like, I watch the PBC fighters and how they're moving right now. And I wonder if some of them are getting fear of missing out, FOMO. Like, they see Tank Davis in a big performance like this, a big arena, um, big lights, and maybe some of them want to be a part of this as well. And that may lead them to stepping up in competition as well. So I wanted to really start off with this. Before I do that, I saw something you said on Twitter, and it just came to mind. You think that Eubank Jr. is going to win a rematch against Liam Smith? Because I disagree with that. I think Liam's going to do it again.
I think not something impossible, but something unlikely happened in that fight. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And I think Liam's going to do it again. But that just came to mind.
It was to a similar degree, not exactly, but it's very similar to Beck the Bully Rosado to me.
Yeah. Lucky punch, or not a lucky punch, but a perfectly timed
I just think
punch.
it was like more probable in a situation, but it was still unlikely to me. If Eubank stays disciplined through the fight, he should win like 8 rounds out of 12, easy, in my opinion.
So you think he's a more talented fighter, and it's not likely that the more talented fighter gets caught 2 times in a row like that?
I think your intuition before that fight was correct, and I think something unlikely just happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Gotcha. Now, Morrell Jr. put on a hell of a performance Saturday night against 10 days notice opponent, not that good. So this is the thing, 9 fights in, opposition isn't that good, but he looks the part. He passes the eye test. To me, he's a wild card at 168. I watch Morrell Jr. fight, and I see a guy who isn't that marketable, doesn't sell too many tickets. He's been an undercard fighter up until this point. You know, he headlined in Minnesota in November, but the numbers weren't that great. So he's the type of guy that generally, this is why it's interesting to me. Generally, like, if you're the manager, you maneuver your fighter around such a guy, right? He doesn't, the demand isn't necessarily there because he's not a big fighter, but yet you watch him fight and you say, that guy right there can be a threat. He can be a wild card. You know,
there's also like
every plan that we have.
Yeah, there's also like an element of, and then if you beat him, how much credit are you going to get? Because he doesn't even have double-digit wins yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, what's the reward? Even though I believe it's a risky fight, I think it's a great fight. That's me.
I love that fight.
But the general public, what type of reward are they going to give him for that win? Like, so taking a admirable if he takes the fight. I'll say that.
Benavidez versus Morrell Jr. to me is one of those fights that's going to turn into a firefight. Because Morrell Jr., the thing that I love about Morrell Jr. is he gets it, right? He's one of these Cuban fighters that understand, like, I can't come in here and fight an amateur style and then build a base. He understands it. Like, I'm going to learn the marketing in America. I'm going to be able to speak English. I'm going to be able to market myself, be a nice guy, and come in here and not try to knock guys out. Because he's capable. He's fully capable of doing these 12-round decision victories, 120, 108, 118, 110 type of performances. But guess what? He wants to come in there and knock guys out. And the interesting thing about Benavidez versus Morrell Jr. is a lot of people thought Canelo fans were bringing this up. And it wasn't. It was a sanctioning body, but from the sanctioning body, it came from Morrell Jr.'s manager, Sampson. I want to bring up this interview, and I want you to translate this real quick, because this seems to be Sampson saying, we have a contract already. This fight's already in motion. But I want you to translate this right here, if you can, what Samson's saying because he's speaking in Spanish, and this is a Espanol podcast right here. Let me share a screen.
Sure.
I want you to translate this because this seems like Samson saying, we already got the fight signed.
All right.
No quiero decir que es posible, es 100% posible. O sea, de que no hay duda de que esa pelea se va a dar por dos razones. Una, tenemos dos manejadores y dos promotores de que están dispuestos a hacer.
Yo sé.
Lo que venía a decir es de que todos estamos de acuerdo y hay un documento firmado.
You said pause it?
Yeah. So we'll kind of continue from there. So I don't lose track of everything. So he's saying, I don't want to say it's possible. I want to say it's 100% going to happen.
Wow.
Because we have two promoters and two managers that are willing to work with each other. That's what we got so far.
And that's pretty much the end of it right there. That's the end of it. So he's
I don't really want to play the rest, but
no, that's the end of it. He's saying it's 100% done, is what he's saying.
That's what, according to him, yeah.
So Samson, from his mouth to your ears, is saying Benavidez versus Morrell Jr. So here's the question I have: what percentage do you give Morrell Jr. of upsetting the apple cart, being the wild card in this division who messes up a possible fight between Canelo and Benavidez? Because this seems out of character from what we've been seeing up until this point from Benavidez.
Well, I'm confused on this. It's 100% because I also hear Benavidez. So does that mean Benavidez is knowingly clout chasing?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that means? So they know 100% certain they're going to fight Morrell. It's already said and done. They're already talking to the manager. They're giving him the word. Our managers, our promoters, we're working together. It's a done deal. It's set in stone. But Canelo, can you fight us?
Yeah,
like it's kind of like so you're willing to you're willing to crumble up the deal, right? Tear up the deal. You know, if Canelo wants to fight you at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're saying, but I think without saying it, I think they know. Everybody knows. Oscar Valdez came out recently saying Canelo's obsessed with this rematch with Bivol. And I just don't think people understand, bro. You know what I mean? I don't think they understand, that he, maybe to us, it's like, bro, it's okay. You don't got to fight the dude again. Move on. But to him,
he can't let it go.
But back to Samson, yeah, he's saying it's a done deal. And to answer your question, you're asking, could he be a spoiler? And this guy right here be a spoiler? And the answer is yes. This is, though, don't let the amount of fights fool you. And I know, a lot of Benavidez fans were actually saying things like, why do you want Morrell to fight him? You're not going to give him credit. You're going to say you only had 8 fights. And, look, I'm not going to lie to you. There's going to be people that are going to, if he gets the win, there's going to be people that are going to discredit Benavidez's win over Morrell. There's no doubt about that. But guess what? Welcome to the boxing world.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're in a world where people are going to discredit Canelo for being a top 5 super middleweight who had the best wins at super middleweight out of all the super middleweights. Right? So that's the world we live in. That's the way it is. There's people that didn't want to give. There was content creators on here, a lot of boxing fans that for years told me undisputed over everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then as soon as Canelo won undisputed, yeah, he won undisputed, but I mean, I don't like how he did it. And it's just I don't know. They just changed their whole ordeal, how they think about it.
The goalposts moving. And the higher you get, the more the goalposts will move. So,
get used to it.
What we're saying to guys like Tank and Benavidez this week is welcome to the party. Welcome.
Yeah, you're going to get people are going to nitpick every win because that's what happens the higher you move, right? That's just the way it is. The greater you are, the more people have to nitpick because that's why you're great, right? Mm-hmm. You're so great, we got to nitpick you. And the nitpicking, it gets ridiculous sometimes, right? But that's just the way it is. So maybe it is unfair. I cannot stop the wave of people are going to be like, oh, come on. He beat a dude with less than 10 fights. Yeah, I can't stop that. All I could do, I could only speak for myself. Calix can only speak for himself. What I will say, and you could screen share this, and you could put it on record, is that this is a good fight. That I would give Benavidez all the credit in the world for fighting this guy, number one. And even if Benavidez loses, I would not trash Benavidez. I will not mock Benavidez. I would not give up on Benavidez. I would still say Benavidez is a top fighter at 168. He could bounce back, even if he loses to Morrell. Right? Because I don't believe in this protecting the old bullshit. I just don't. So Benavidez is about that life, and he really is going to fight Morrell, and he beats him. I give him all the credit in the world. And if he loses, I still give him credit for stepping in there and getting it done, because that's what I want fighters to do at the end of the day. This guy has great amateur experience, really good Cuban. Okay, it has the eye test is there. He's dangerous. So I would give him credit.
Fast punching power, can set it up. Great punch placement. It looks that way, right? We don't know until he steps up, but what I'm saying is the unknown of it makes it dangerous to me. The fact that we haven't seen this guy step up in competition, but it looks like he's the part. It looks like he's that type of dude. It's a dangerous fight. It's typically the type of fight you stay away from as the manager. So it makes me wonder, like, is Benavidez behind the scenes taking control of his career and saying, no. Look, Samson, look, we'll do Caleb Plant, we'll do Morrell Jr., we'll do Charlo, we'll do Boo Boo. I'm done waiting around. He's got B-Vol. Let's just fight the fights. And if this is what it is, it's like I say, like, I've been critical of Benavidez, but you always leave that door open that you can make a 180 on a fighter. And if Benavidez is going to start moving like this, I'm a fan. You know, I become a fan at that point. So I want to see him fight Morrell Jr. And if that happens, he goes Caleb Plant, Morrell Jr., and all of a sudden he moves to Charlo. Then it becomes something, right? But it's a wild card. It's a tough fight. It's out of character. And it makes me wonder what's going on. But also the Canelo talk. They did it with Caleb Plant. It's called a clout chase, right? And like you said the other day, it's almost become like a derogatory term, clout chasing, but it's smart at the same time. They had no intention, from what it looks like, to fight Canelo Alvarez next. I think they knew the B-Vol fight was next and there's no need to do it, but we'll use that as clout chasing. We'll use the Mexican monster talk and he's avoiding us talk to go fight B-Vol in order to sell the fight with Caleb Plant. And I think it's going to be the narrative going forward. Each fight is, we're going to fight the number 3 guy. We're going to fight the number 4 guy. We'll possibly fight guys coming up from 160 in Charlo and Boo Boo. And as we're doing it, we're going to attach our name to Canelo and continue to build this fight, because what's the word that Samson always brings up? The M word, marination. He's a marinating guy. He said openly, I marinated the Plant fight for 5 years. So what's stopping them from marinating the Canelo talk for another year, year and a half, while we're fighting top guys? And as long as they're fighting top guys, I'm okay with it, right? I'm okay with it. And at the same time, I think the game plan for them is to age Canelo a little bit, right? So it may be a smart move here. I mean, this may be the play. But what I'm telling you is, you think you're going to go in there and mow down Morrell Jr.
No. Good luck.
I don't know if it's going to happen. It's a dangerous fight. That guy's willing to go toe to toe.
Look, he might very well go out there and just destroy Morrell, and I'll be like, damn, he's destroyed Morrell, right?
Yeah.
But it's a good fight. I have no issue. I have zero issues with the fight. Apparently, according to Samson, it's 100% done, and he doesn't see why it wouldn't get done. So shout out to him. But you know, all I'll say is this. Whenever I point out the obvious, right? Or look, this is what they're doing. They're clout chasing Canelo's name, or you know what I mean? Or they're like, they know, like, Canelo already told you his plan. You know, he already told you what's up, what he's gonna do, right? He already told you as soon as the Bivol fight was over, this doesn't end this way, right? Yeah. And yeah, he took he wanted to, I believe, just first of all, I think he knew he had the injury. I don't think he wanted to fight injured against Bivol. He was willing to fight that way against Golovkin, right? I think he kind of knew Golovkin was on his last legs, to be honest. And so he's like, okay, let me get this fight out of the way. There's wants me to fight this guy anyway, so let me get it out of the way. Let me go through the surgery. And then he said, okay, I'm going to come back. I'm going to fight a top 5 guy after surgery, and then I'm going to come back after Bivol. Like, Bivol, I'm after your head. Like, you know what I mean? It is what it is. And I just don't know what people don't get about that. Like, it's like you're not going to get this obsessed individual off of that, what his goal. Like, you know what I mean? You're not gonna like, but I want to see him fight Benavidez. Like, he doesn't care like what you want. You know what I mean? Like it's, and I know it sounds like kind of like, oh, what do you mean? You're supposed to care what the fans want.
I think but the part they don't get is they're one and the same, and that's the beautiful thing about Canelo's career is he's gonna fight the fights that you want him to fight because he cares about the same stuff. He has similar interests that you do as a boxing fan. He cares about legacy. We care about legacy. He cares about legacy at the end of the day. And it's what I go back to with Canelo all the time is if he doesn't fight the fight you want this time, it's likely coming the next fight or the one behind that. But you're going to get your fight within an 18-month period.
Let me ask you this, Calix. You ever play basketball in the park or one-on-one?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody ever beat your ass at basketball? You just had to get them back?
Yep.
Like, there was no like, oh, you beat me. It was so one-sided, so I don't get to play you no more.
Yep.
Like, so isn't that how a competitor that plays basketball in the park thinks? Like, you beat me. Yeah,
that's what we should want.
Exactly. So that's my. I just want to put that out there. But my thing is this, right? If you're Canelo, it's like he's like, look, I'm already 0-1. What's the worst that could happen? I'm 0-2. At the very least, like, I'll go 1-on-1, like 1-1 against the dude. You know, like it's like Adesanya. Like, he lost to the same dude 3 times, bro. The same dude knocked him out 3 times. Yeah. He was like, nah, we got to do it again. And then he won. Like, those people saying that, and then the dude won. Like I thought he was crazy, wanted to keep fighting the dude, but he kept doing it. He didn't care. He was like shit. He already beat me 3 times. What's the worst that could happen? He beats me again. Let's go, right? Now, look, I'm not saying Canelo should get 4 cracks at Bill. That's not what I'm saying. Okay,
no.
But but what I am saying is that, like, the guy wants his get back, and I don't think people understand that. You know, like if Jordan, somebody got the best of Jordan in the first half, he couldn't wait to get them in the second half.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Like, Bivol didn't do anything wrong. He just beat Canelo, and Canelo's mad about it, and he wants his get back. That's all it is. Canelo's taking it personal.
And I think part of it is people are tired of rematches in boxing, and I'm right there with people. But I'll say this: the other narrative going out there is Tank Davis is entitled to some easier fights in between big fights because look at Canelo, look what he's doing. But what people need to understand is a lot of people, there's American elitism going on, right? Is they see John Ryder and they see John Ryder. What they don't see is he's a top 5 guy in the division. Do you know who wasn't viewed as a top 5 guy at 135 going into this fight because he wasn't even really a lightweight? Ryan Garcia. So Ryan Garcia is really on the same plane, but take the name away. Like, take the name and the flashiness and the 5.5 million, or I think 10 million Instagram followers that Ryan Garcia has. It's pretty much the same level of competition, right? Ryan Garcia, John Ryder.
Yesterday, I basically said, look, I mean, Tank Davis just won the CFL. You know what I mean? The Canadian Football League Championship. In dominating fashion, by the way. Dominating fashion. All I'm saying, and it was the highest rated CFL game of all time. It did Super Bowl comparable numbers. But guess what? Just because you do comparable numbers to the Super Bowl doesn't mean it's a Super Bowl, right? It doesn't mean it's the championship, right? That's all I'm saying about Tank. The guy dominated junior varsity. That's what he did.
But you want to see, you don't want him to be Johnny Manziel. You want to see if he's Tom Brady. You want to see
like, you know what I mean?
Mahomes.
He's dominating And it's like, okay, Tank, I see you. All right. But now it's time to go to the big leagues. You know what I mean? Like you're striking out. It's like a pitcher striking out dudes in the AA, AAA league. And it's like, okay, I think it's time to go to MLB now, right? I don't need to see it. Like that's fantastic. A lot of Tank fans, I don't need to see it. I already know he could strike out the best major league players. Like, okay, don't you see he's pitching at 100 miles per hour? I mean, that's nice and all, but I need to actually see him do it. Like there's this dude called Devin Haney. He's good at stealing bases and scoring points. I need to see you pitch against that dude. I'm sorry. I got to see it. I believe you could strike him out, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything unless you do it, though. I just need to see it is what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, you still got to go out there and do it. Anything can happen in boxing, bro.
Hey, naturally, as you go higher, the expectations become higher for you. So I don't want to hear, and I heard this when they didn't know where the Morrell Jr. stuff was coming from. And after Benavidez beats Plants, oh, you're moving the goalpost. You're expecting him to beat Morrell Jr. now. You're putting another obstacle in his way before. No. That was them doing it, number one. But number two is your expectations should be higher. Your expectations should be he should be as great as Morrell Jr. looks. If this guy is who you say he is, if he's great enough for the real face of boxing to be ducking him, which is absurd, but if he's that great, he should beat a Morrell Jr. He should beat a.
First of all, who's putting obstacles in front of who? Like when you're roadblocks and obstacles and like let me tell you something. Like I don't think anybody's putting obstacles in front of anybody. Like I think you're putting roadblocks in front of this dude, and you don't want him to fight Benavidez, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I hear when someone says, "Why do you want it to fight? Why do you want to see this fight? Are you protecting Canelo? Why don't you want to see the fight?" Because, bro, like Benavidez fans really made me watch this guy closer because the way they were acting when this dude's name would come up, right? Like Morrell's name, and they were just like, all of us. He wasn't a monster anymore, right?
Yeah.
And now he's a little puppy that you need to protect. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get my little puppy over to Canelo, and you're trying to feed him to this dangerous pit bull over here. You know what I mean? Leave my Benavidez alone. You know what I mean? And they're just petting the guy. You know what I mean? That's what they do. Don't worry, Benavidez. We're not going to put you in the ring with Morrell, okay? We're going to get you that Canelo fight, okay? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Who's protecting what for real?
But this is where boxing starts. This is where I feel bad for the new age boxing fan and the guys who do this. Is boxing starts when you get that feeling, that sinking feeling before a fight. I don't know if my guy can beat this guy. I just, I don't know. This is going to be tough. I'm getting that feeling in my gut as the ring entrances happen. I don't know if Oscar can beat Tito. I don't know if Cotto can beat Margarito. I don't know I certainly don't think Arturo can beat Floyd. I think he's going to get slaughtered, but I'm still there, and I appreciate that he's actually fighting the fight. I don't know if Manny can beat Floyd. Those are the fights, like the 50-50 fights. When we take them off the paper, we should be taking more of these fights.
But we don't need this, though. Like, this is what we don't need, okay? You want to tell me what we don't need? Like, yes, Benavidez, you're a monster. Who's the monster? You're the monster. We're not going to put you in the ring with Morrell. Okay, they're trying to protect Canelo. Like, the fuck out of here, bro. Who's the monster? You're the monster.
It's called projection, bro. Right? It's called projection. And the beautiful thing
if you got a monster, don't you say, "Hey, boy, sick him." You know what I mean? Like let's go. Man, if I really believe this dude was a monster like that, I'd be like, well, why do you guys want to fuck up Morrell's career? Fuck this dude up. You're gonna ruin this young man's career because you insist and put him in the ring with a Mexican monster. That's how I would be talking. Like
Yeah, how a guy gets to superstardom, that stratosphere is giving you I feel more fights like that to where you're emotionally invested in them. And a lot of the bigger name fighters look vulnerable, right? One of the things that was intriguing to me about guys like Cotto, Gatti is they were vulnerable. They were relatable, right? We relate more to that story than the Prodigy story. It's more relatable. It's more fun to watch and to see these guys try to test themselves and then try to exceed your expectations. And the frustrating part about a lot of these talented fighters that we've seen in the past, particularly the PBC roster, Benavidez, Tank up until this point with Ryan Garcia, Charlo's, or 160 Charlo, Jamal Charlo, Boo Boo Andre, is they're taking away that process and you're not getting emotionally invested in them because they're not giving you anything to get that feeling about. You just walk into it, yeah, he's a 5-1 favorite, he's a 10-1 favorite, we should win this fight. Oh, look how great he looked, but it's artificial. It's not real. You're not making a real connection with the fans. And that's the beautiful thing about Canelo's career up until this point is we've had multiple moments like that. It's like, I don't know if he can beat Trout. I don't know if he's ready. I don't know if he can beat Mayweather. I don't think he's ready. I don't know if he can beat Lara. I don't know if he's ready. I don't know if he can beat Golovkin. Golovkin again. I don't know if he can beat, when he was at 160, if he can move up to 168 and beat Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, and then he does all of that, right? And he gives you those moments to where he's going to test himself, and we're going to see if he can get out of it. Bivol again.
Do you think like
Bivol, can he win that fight?
Do you think Canelo dominating the way he did at 168 kind of hurt him a little bit in terms of how people seen? Sometimes when it looks too easy, people don't understand how great like they're watching greatness. They don't understand that. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like when Floyd went to 147. It was his, like it was already like his 1, 2, 3, 4th weight class, right?
Yeah.
4th weight class up. And he was dominating, and people wanted him to go to middleweight. Like, you know what I mean? Because of what he was doing, right? Yeah. And I kind of feel that's what's happening here. Like the guy goes up there, he beats up Callum Smith, Billy Joe, Caleb Plant, and it's. I'm not saying those were pound for pound guys, but they were solid fighters that he didn't get much credit for beating. Like he just didn't. Like think about after he beat Plant, people just saw it like yeah, of course he beat Plant, right? That's how they looked at it, you know?
and then Benavidez beats Plant, and it's the greatest thing in the world. And that goes back to expectations. You're going to tell us what you think about fighters by their expectations.
That's what I mean. Like it's like as soon as he beat Plant, people started demanding the fight with Canelo. It's, and what people don't realize is that I don't even think Plant was on paper the most difficult fight for Canelo. He was just the most difficult fight to make. Right? Because of where he was at. He wanted Plant first. People don't even know that. He was trying to fight Plant before the litigation issue with his own. Mm-hmm. Right? Plant turned down the fight. He said he needed more time or whatever it was. And then he didn't have enough time the second time. Right? Caleb Plant, whatever. Right? And then so he went the route he went because it was a lot easier to work with Eddie. Right? Like boom, boom, boom. Get these fights out of the way. And then I'll deal with the last piece later. But I just want to see these guys fight, man. I want to see Morrell. If he beats Benavidez, look, I'm all for Canelo fighting this guy. Like, why not? If he beats Benavidez, it makes sense to me. Benavidez beats Morrell, sure. And you know what? Even if they don't fight, even if all this is cap, Calix, even if it's all bullshit, they're not going to fight. And they don't fight, right? Don't worry, Benavidez fans, okay? I don't need him to fight Morrell to get in the ring with Canelo, okay?
I'm there already.
Yeah, I'm already there. It's just everything is a matter of circumstance, and I don't think boxing fans put things in perspective sometimes, right?
But you know why sports tournaments are popular? And they're the most viewed of sports, right? College football playoff, NFL playoffs, March Madness. And the reason is it's do or die. And you eventually get to the pinnacle of this tournament. And we need to be having tournaments at 135, 168. these, we don't have to call them tournaments, but they are in theory tournaments. So it's good if, Canelo goes fights a top 5 guy and Ryder, number 4, number 5, depending on who you talk to, after beating Caleb Plant, after beating Billy Joe Saunders, after beating Callum. And then on top of that, Benavidez can go and fight and build the fight up naturally by beating Plant, who Canelo already beat, and then go and beat Morrell Jr., and then possibly beating 160 Charlo, moving up to 168, is you can build the fight up that way and have a tournament. And then people are invested as it goes on and more invested organically in the fighters. And then you get that Canelo versus Benavidez. And then it was naturally built, traditionally built. And it's the same thing we say about Tank. If we want to transition back to that, is Tank, all he has to do is fight the fights now. I mean, he's a draw now. He's a guy, like he's one of the stars in boxing, right? He's whatever you want to call him. Some people say face of boxing, but I prefer to say he's like a top 5, 6 name in the sport now, universally, globally. So, and that's impressive for a guy who's, I would say 5'2", you would say 5'5", but it's impressive for a 135-pounder to have that type of star appeal, right? So what I want to see now is this tournament develop in the division. I want to see this fight on May 20th, Devin Haney versus Lomachenko. And then Shakur is right there, right? So even if Tank says, and I would hate that for that to happen because Devin Haney's not going to be in the division much longer. I'd love to see the undisputed fight next. Devin Haney, Tank Davis, humongous fight. And you have your tournament going on, right? But if it's Devin Haney, let's say Devin Haney does stick around. Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson. And then Tank decides, I want to go fight the Isaac Cruz rematch or Frank Martin. And then you do Shakur Stevenson, Tank Davis 2024. But it's a tournament, right? What we don't want to see is a guy opt out of the tournament and say, no, we're not going to fight that. We're not going to fight those fights. We're just going to simply wait around. I'm going to go fight the circuit.
It's funny you mentioned that, right? Because I've actually used the analogy of like when it comes to Canelo at 168 or at or any weight class, really, everyone just excuses everyone from not fighting anybody, and it's like Canelo's expected to fight all of them, right? And it's almost like even us, we've kind of accepted it. Like, okay, fine, that's just the way it is. Hey, he's the big name, he's the draw, he's the face of boxing. That's what he needs to do. Like we've all kind of, even if it's unfair, we've like accepted that, right? So what did Canelo have to do? He needed to go out there and grab all the belts, right? He didn't get to fight one dude like Haney got to fight Cambosos for all the belts, right? He had to go there and grab all of them, and that was expected of him almost, right? Tank Davis is in a position where he could just fight Haney. He fights one dude, and you get all the accolades for all the marbles. You get it all in one night, like all of it, right? You'll be like Steve Young when he said when he finally won a Super Bowl, it was like a monkey off his back. You know what I mean? And he said all the accolades I had, that they became a bigger deal, like because I finally won the one, right? And that's Tank has that opportunity. It's right there for him. Right, he doesn't need to go through a gauntlet of different guys to get it. He has one guy. Now, granted, it's not an easy guy. It's a tough opponent for sure, but he needs to do that. But when it comes to Canelo, it's kind of like it's funny because I've always given that analogy. Like, imagine if all the NBA teams didn't have to play anybody, but LeBron had to play all of them in order to become the champion. You know what I mean? Imagine if Nadal was expected to face all the top players at the U.S. Open in order to win the U.S. Open, and everyone else could just chill and wait for their turn to play Nadal. And what we have right now, what I like about Benavidez, in fairness, right? It looks like he's not going to be just another one of those guys just waiting around, like Jamal, literally waiting around 700 days doing nothing, thinking the fight's going to fall in his lap. You know what I mean? Well, he does nothing. Right, like Billy Joe was literally doing nothing at the weight class, bro. Then he got the Canelo fight. That's just true. Plant was doing nothing at the weight class. He was just part of the marination process because they were marinating everything for him because they were making nothing happen. The dude shows up, he just snatches his belt. So if Benavidez does go the route, he does fight Morrell, he does fight Charlo when Charlo comes back, and let's say he does do those things. Let's say he does fight Andrade. then great. Like he'll get nothing but praise from me, because you know what he's doing? He's doing the legwork, right?
Yep.
You know what he's doing, all right? Because I've seen people get smart, and then they'll say things like, "Oh yeah, you guys want Benavidez to do all this to get a Canelo fight, but look at all the guys that just got the Canelo fight." Yeah, but what you're failing to realize is that's the problem. They're all just waiting around, waiting for a Canelo fight. And if they're all doing that, if 10 guys just waiting around, right, for a Canelo fight, you lose the right to complain if you're not one of the ones picked. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
You have a right to complain if you raise your status by beating certain guys. That's what he did when he beat Plant, right? We made fun of them, right? We said they're talking with bass in their voice now. You know, they actually believe it now when they say Canelo don't want to fight.
They're saying it with their chest now.
Yeah. Like you know, they're saying it with swag now, because before they didn't believe it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were just saying it. But what I'm saying is, we need to start creating a culture in boxing that incentivizes guys for taking the risk. Like, if this fight happens, yeah, I want Canelo to fight the winner, because I want Canelo to incentivize. I wanted to send a message like, you know what, you fight the fights, you get your payday because you earned it. And now I'm not giving you a payday now. You earned a fucking payday. You earned the right to make this fight, and we could do a 1 million 1 million buy fight together. You know what I mean? That's what I want to see. That's just me.
I think it's what the detractors missed about Canelo and the whole press conference when Boo Boo Andre showed up. And he's literally telling him what he needs to do. And he's not being dismissive. He's not joking. He's not, just trying to get rid of Boo Boo Andre because he fears him. That's not what's happening. He's literally telling him. And it's the reason I say, like, Canelo's values align with boxing fans' values in a lot of ways, because I think he views boxing in a lot of ways like a boxing fan. Its legacy has to matter. Fights have to matter. And you have to do it the traditional way. And he's telling Boo Boo, fight a fight. Just fight somebody. And what happened when Benavidez beats Plant? Now we're talking. Like, you and I are saying, yeah, he's there now. I'm there with the fight. He's there. And it's the same thing with anybody. And it's almost become like a tallest midget competition up there from what you're saying is, yes, these guys he's fighting, they're not reinventing the wheel. That's not what they're doing. But anybody he chooses up there is the same. Benavidez wins one fight, and he's in the front of the line now, off of winning one fight.
He's standing out because he won one fight. To his
That's
credit,
That's all he did.
Like that's why, like, you know what I mean? I'm thinking to myself, okay, Canelo's at 168, right? Like, here's why, like, people still don't understand why Lara showing up to the press conference for Canelo and Andrade showing up to the press conference to disrupt Canelo, why they were both different, right? Mm-hmm. The difference was, all right, the Lara was known as a real threat in that division. This was the guy that was, everyone knew he beat Williams, but he was robbed. You know what I mean? Everyone knew, like people just knew. Where Andrade's not even campaigning at that fucking weight class. Yeah. And he thinks just because he's with Eddie that he's going to get the fight.
And look even further, D-Style, it's like if Benavidez decided Boo Boo Andre is next, I wouldn't be that afraid for Benavidez in that. But Morrell Jr., it brings like Lara vibes to it, right? It's like, yeah, that guy looks the part. Even though he doesn't have a Paul Williams type of win, which he won that fight, it's still, he looks that type of part. He looks like an upset type of guy.
What the hell? Like, but I guess my point is, because there's going to be Andrade fans that are going to turn around and say, no, you're just saying that because you want to say that because you know he's the real threat, right? Here's my thing. You cannot just, like, if you do nothing, you can't get mad if you're not the one that's picked. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, at the very least, he was picking the champions, bro. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, he picked Yildirim as a tune-up, and then they get mad because they weren't picked as a tune-up. Like, well, you fought Yildirim. You could have fought Charlo. Like, so what? You think Charlo's a tune-up? Like, you're mad because you weren't picked as a tune-up, bro. Like, think about how ridiculous that is. Everyone and their mother has tune-ups. Everybody. There's tune-ups and there's real fights, right? I guess I think I have higher expectations of a Charlo and Andrade. I would think of them as real fights, not tune-ups, right? But whatever, maybe their fans just see them as tune-ups. I don't know, right? But you can't get mad if you're just waiting around, bro. You can't get mad if you're not the one that's picked, right? Now, Benavidez, he's actually standing out. He's standing out, bro. And then Morrell will be standout number 2 if he beats Benavidez, quite frankly.
Yeah. And I like this comment. Before I get to it, hit that like button because the alerts are not going out again. So I didn't get an alert from my own show. So make sure you're hitting that like button.
Yeah, I didn't get an alert either.
Salute, fellas. It's simple. Tank fighting the Haney Loma winner or Shakur boosts his validity in stock, win or lose. I agree. And it goes back to what we're saying, right? Is you just simply fight the fights. And if you lose the fights, as long as you're putting together a string of wins, your stock's going to go up. And Canelo versus Benavidez next if the Bivol fight doesn't get made. And once again, I agree. Like if that fight, which I don't think it's that's gonna happen. I think we do get the fight in September. But if that does fall apart, we'll all naturally say Benavidez, that guy up there, is next, right? He's next in line. We understand he's got to go fight Bivol. He wants to go fight Bivol. He won't let it go. But that guy up there, he's in front of the line. He's in front of the line. And we're all there. Like nobody's hating on Benavidez. We're all there. Benavidez deserves to get that shot next. But going back to Tank, who do you think Tank, who do you want to, and this is a litmus test for everybody in the chat, for you as well. Who do you think he should fight next? And who do you believe he fights next? Two very different things. Who do you think he should fight next? Because there's only one correct answer to that, possibly two. And who do you want, or who do you think he fights next?
Talking about Benavidez?
No, Tank.
Oh, my bad. I guess you were pointing up, and I was like, is he talking about Benavidez? No. So Tank Davis, I think I have this feeling he's going to fight Isaac Cruz next.
Me too.
I just have this feeling. And the runner-up is Raleigh.
Oh.
That's his. Like I'm just saying, the runner-up is Raleigh. Like it's like 75% chance it's Pitbull Cruz, 25% chance it's Raleigh Romero,
and 0% chance the top ranked guys next.
No, next. No, he's not gonna fight him next.
So I think either one of those.
Think that, now to Tank's credit, like I don't want to give him too much credit, but with this, I do think. I honestly believe Arum is going to really sweeten the pot for Haney if Haney wins to do that Shakur fight. He wants Shakur with those belts. He wants a top-ranked guy with those belts, and he knows it'll be hard for anybody to take those belts off Shakur. And there's one guy that I feel like I think Arum wants to send a young, prime, fast, Shakur. Extremely talented guy up there. If he's going to send anybody there against Tank, it's going to be Shakur because I think he feels Shakur will beat Tank, and if he's under the top ranked banner, bro, and he beats Tank, like Shakur's a star overnight.
Shakur is the type of guy you can get creative with, and you can move him anywhere because he's that type of guy you feel he can beat anybody.
Like I am.
Who would you pick against Shakur? Who would you pick?
Nobody.
I wouldn't either.
Line him up. Like I'm just saying now. I don't think he would be as confident. Like, let's say Lomachenko beats Haney. I don't think he's as because Lomachenko is up there in age. Like, there's just too many factors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think Lomachenko becomes expendable if he loses this fight. So I would offer him up if I'm Bob Arum to that side. If he loses the fight, but here's the problem I have with all this is.
What's Eliza? Like she's just like on Pitbull Cruz, bro. Like she just doesn't like the guy, bro. Like what did he do to her? Like, I just don't like. Did he not buy you a house? Like was he showing him a house? And no la quiero comprar. He's left. What happened?
But here's the thing. This is the problem I have with the whole situation at 135 is with Tank, he's got all the momentum in the world right now. So if you take that momentum and completely thwart it by Isaac Cruz, at least it was a good fight. I understand it, but come on, I don't want to. It's threadbare to me. I don't need to see it again. I thought Tank won the fight with a hurt hand. It was a close fight. Some people I know, and I got to give Isaac Cruz for that performance. All right, so if you want to do the rematch, okay. It's not where I want to see this go. But Raleigh would be disastrous. That would be absolutely disastrous. That cannot happen. The boxing gods cannot allow Raleigh Romero to get a belt at 140. It cannot happen. They cannot, if they are just gods, these boxing gods up there are just gods. They cannot allow Short Bus Raleigh to get a belt.
I mean, just think about it, bro.
It is a beautiful division. 140. It's a beautiful division. It's been a beautiful division with killers in it. And you're gonna let this dude roll up in the Short Bus back into a belt, and then they're gonna use that to give Tank a real belt at 140. So you can no longer say he's Reggie at 140. It's horrible. Horrible.
Terrible.
That can't happen. Terrible. And I want to tell the Tank fans this right now: that fight cannot happen. You will get trolled, you will get destroyed online if that fight happens. Destroyed. You want to talk about thwarting momentum. And that's why I don't trust these people around Tank. The fact that this is even a discussion that they would fight Raleigh. And I'll never forgive
these people.
I'll never forgive Tank for introducing Raleigh to the market. I will never forgive him for that.
No, I just don't understand this Raleigh phenomenon. Like Raleigh has like a little minions, right? He has like a little, like Raleigh has like believers, bro. He's got dudes that believe his shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got in a discussion one with a dude telling me Raleigh's the second best lightweight behind only Tank. I was like, what? Yeah. He would destroy Haney and he would destroy Cambozas. He would destroy Shakur. I'm like, what? Like Raleigh? Like what? Is there another Raleigh I don't know about? Or what do you mean?
That can't be Raleigh Romero.
Yeah. Apparently, Raleigh Romero we just don't know it yet. He's the second best lightweight in the world.
I think Tank stays away from 140 altogether. I don't think he's going back up there. I
think he goes back up there for Raleigh.
You know what I think happened at 140? Yeah, besides Raleigh, besides a fight like that. You know what I think happened at 140? Remember when Pacquiao fought Margarito at the catchweight of 150, whatever it was, for that junior middleweight belt? And it looked easy to a lot of people. It looked like he destroyed Margarito, and he did hurt Margarito. Margarito was never the same after that. However, after the fight, what did Pacquiao say? Pacquiao said that guy punches. Like, that's a puncher, and that weight right there is just too much. That's where the ceiling is. Because there were people still, and this was his 11th weight class. There were people discussing a 12th. There were people discussing him going up to 155 catch weight to fight for a middleweight title. And he said, dude, enough. That was enough for me.
That was always my point, by the way. That was always my point about Canelo moving up and fighting Makabu. Like, it's not that, like, there's a lot of dudes out here, like, they make up stories like, oh, you guys said that Makabu was good. Like, nobody said that. But what was being said is that would be, even if Canelo dominates Makabu, he wins every round. There's still that danger, by the way, that he gets caught. That's number one. Mm-hmm. But even if he doesn't get caught with something big and he wins a 12-0 on the scorecard, those punches on the shoulders, on the elbows, on, like, you know what I mean? The ones that partially land, the ones that land on the hip, whatever you want to call it, bro. The ones he rolls, were going to be physically taxing to his body, right? And the question was, is it even worth it?
It's why I disagree with like a base that he's still going to go up to cruiserweight and challenge Badu Jack. I don't
think he will either, because it's just a very physically taxing thing to ask of a prize fighter to do. Mm-hmm. If not, fighters will do it more often, bro. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's bigger guys that some small guys feel, hey, man, I could beat that dude, right? But at what cost is the question, right? At what cost?
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be some physically taxing shit you're going to feel when you move up in weight, especially if it's that far off.
Yeah.
And in the case of Manny Pacquiao, he was a far superior fighter to Margarito. That was clear. Nobody questioned that. It was an easy fight to score. He was winning virtually every round.
But it wasn't easy.
Yeah, he was outlanding him like almost 10-1. But guess what? All those ones were affecting him more than some 3 or 4 in other weight classes against other opponents. You know what I mean? It's the way it is.
And what I was getting with that point was, I think Tank tested the waters at 140 against Matteo. Battio is a guy who wasn't going to be in the top 10 in the division had he not gotten a gift decision before that, had a Reggie. And he tested the waters and he said, man, I had to go through hell to get that stoppage in the 10th round. That was tough. That guy hit harder than I expected. That guy, the weight is more difficult than I expected. And I don't see him going back to that well, unless it's something that falls in his lap, like a Raleigh Romero getting a belt. But these guys like Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis, the only guy I could see is Teofimo. But I sort of don't agree with this either, is he's got problems with Josh Taylor. And that could be true. But the thing with that is, even if Teofimo loses to Josh Taylor, I would still be for Tank versus Teofimo. Even if Lomachenko loses to Devin Haney, I would still be interested in
Tank. Yeah, compared to Raleigh, yeah, of course.
Because what happened? Benavidez, Canelo beats Plant. And who does Benavidez fight? He fights Plant. So you shouldn't throw a fighter away after a loss, especially if it's a loss to another named guy, another good fighter. So if Lomachenko loses, if Teofimo loses, I'm still invested emotionally in Tank versus Teofimo, Tank versus Lomachenko, because I want to see how he does against named fighters who are talented, and it gives us a reference point as opposed to other fighters that beat them, right? So I don't take any of that stuff off the table. I don't take any of it. What I'm saying is it's our job as boxing fans to do what? To create the demand. And then it's the power broker's job to supply us the demand, what we're demanding. And that process is broken. That supply demand in boxing is broken. It's gone.
Well, but that's because some of the demand, Calix, is there's fans that are demanding that their fighter gets protected.
Yep.
There's fans out here that are, when you're a fan of a fighter and you're okay with your fighter hunting deers in cages, right? If that's what you want, that's what you're going to indirectly demand, right? And how do you do that? Because you still go to the event, you still purchase, you still support the fighter. You tell boxing fans that want to see him fight better fighters that they're wrong and you don't understand the business. Boxing's a business. You don't get it, right? That's the problem. And to your point, that's correct. It is a broken system. Like they're hurting. A lot of these guys will realize this, bro. They're going to realize it because a lot of us start as a fan of a fighter, and then we just evolve into just being boxing fans. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to realize it when they're just fans of boxing, and they see other fans doing it with a new age fighter. You know, that's when they're going to realize it. And let's say Tank does become undisputed, right? At some point. I already know what a lot of his fans are going to do. Oh, yeah, what are you going to say now, huh? Well, I'm going to say congratulations. I
know.
I know you can do it.
It's the same exact thing we were talking about with Benavidez. Like, what are you gonna ask next if he beats me? Nothing. Like, I'm there already. And then if he beats Morrell Jr., beautiful. Like, you deserve full credit for that. You deserve full credit for beating Ryan Garcia. But all we're asking now is just fight the top fighters in the division and get some trophies in your trophy case. Yeah. And if you do it, phenomenal, right? We're not gonna move the goalposts. So I mean,
what I'm saying is, it's like a lot of people, they're very protective. Like, it's like a weird thing, and I don't even know if I see this a lot in other sports. Maybe there's some of it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sure when LeBron finally won the championship, I'm sure some LeBron fans were like, "What's up? You said he was a choke artist. Well, what are you going to say now?" And I'm sure it happens, right? Yeah. But boxing fans do it to like a ridiculous level, like. They literally believe that you're asking a fighter to fight against the best. Like, they see that as a threat. They see that as you want harm done to their fighter, right? It's kind of like when we say, "Oh man, that Morrell Benavidez fight is a good fight." They're doing this. They're like, "Oh, don't worry, okay, we're not gonna continue." Like they're like, yeah, they think I want like harm done to Benavidez. Like, I want to see Benavidez fail. Like I have some motive. Like, I want you to fight Morrell, so that way you never get the Canelo fight. But think about it. Like if Benavidez is who you say he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
We see Benavidez fight. We know he's good. And Morrell goes in there and destroys him. Isn't he, by definition, a bigger threat for Canelo?
Yeah.
Right? So in what way, in what world does that even make sense? Like, oh, yeah, but people don't stop and they don't think, right? Like, they don't stop and think about the shit they're saying. So Tank Davis fans, when we're saying, Calix, when we say, hey, I want to see that Haney fight or Lomachenko fight, for undisputed, right? Let's do it, right? That's what we're saying, but that's not what they hear. You know what they're hearing? Oh, he wants Tank to lose.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. This guy, he's a hater, bro. He wants Tank Davis to lose, bro. Fuck this guy. Fuck this dude. So that's all they remember. So they're not going to hear the part where I say, well, I would favor Tank in those fights right now. They don't hear that part. They don't hear the part where I say, I think Tank could beat Devin Haney. So, now it's not a given. He's got to go there and do it. Haney could win, so that's why I want to see it. That's why we watch sports, right? But that's not what they hear. They don't hear that part. They have selective listening. All they hear is blah, 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 blah. I want Tank Davis in there with a real dude because I want him to lose. That's it. Benavidez fans, they don't hear the part where I say, I think Benavidez could beat this guy. There's a lot of X factors because he doesn't have a lot of fights, but I think he beats Morrell. I think that would increase his profile. That makes the Canelo fight bigger, right? They don't hear that part. You know what? All they hear is blah, 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 blah. I want to protect Canelo. I don't want Canelo to get in the ring with Benavidez. I want Benavidez to lose, so that way he never has to fight him. That's all they're hearing, but it's all projection, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. You're the ones that are scared, apparently. I fear for no fighter. I said here, Calix is my witness, Chicano Prophet's my witness. For 2-3 years, I was on here saying the biggest threat to Canelo, 168, 175, his name is Bivol.
Mm-hmm.
And when Canelo was signed to fight him, was I on here saying, oh, no, don't do it, Canelo. No! Canelo's going to outbox you, please, don't do it. No, I was like, shit, he's going to fight Bivol. And you know what? I felt the same way, kind of like this fight. I was like, man, people don't really know who Bivol is. If Canelo goes in there and destroys him, he's really not going to get any credit. If he outboxes Canelo, they're going to really mock Canelo. And a lot of people did, right? Because they didn't know who Bivol was. Bro, there was still people that were picking Zurdo to beat Bivol because they just weren't convinced about Bivol, even after he beat Canelo, bro. I was like, you're really picking Zurdo to beat Bivol? Yeah. I think he's going to beat him. I think the Canelo win's overrated. It all came back to the Canelo win being overrated because they didn't want to give Canelo credit for getting in the ring with a dangerous opponent like Bivol. That's what it was. And a lot of those same people picked fucking Zurdo to beat him, right? When I just couldn't believe it. And then he goes out there, he destroys Zurdo, outboxes him virtually every round, right? And it's like, there's some people that still don't think Bivol's dangerous. They still don't think he's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
What does he need to do, Calix, to show people is the truth? He already is up. He already did the thing you guys say Canelo's scared of losing, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to face Benavidez because he'll lose. Well, he already lost against Bivol. I don't know what to say. Okay.
He's afraid of the boogeyman. No, I think he already fought his boogeyman. I mean, he fought his version of the boogeyman. He fought a guy that y'all have been saying his whole career, and he's going to fight him again. Y'all been saying his whole career that this is the style that gives him trouble. And you're saying that I just keep going back to this. You're saying he's ducking the guy who stylistically, he's never had trouble with that guy.
I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous. Like, oh, he's gonna fight Bivol because why? Because he wants to lose again, but he's scared of losing. Like what? You guys aren't making sense, bro. Just, look. No cap, Cal. No cap. The Benavidez fight is a more exciting fight.
It is.
Like there's no doubt about that. It's a more fan-pleasing fight. It's a war. Like, you know what I mean? I think Canelo takes him out late, but I think it's a fucking barn burner of a fight.
Mm-hmm.
I even think it sells better. Right?
Oh, it does.
So I agree with all that, but people don't hear those things though, because they'll bring that up to me. Don't you think it's a better fight? I said it was a better fight. Don't you think it would sell better? Like I already told you they would. You know, but that's not my point. My point is, Benavidez is a young one anyway. Like the one getting old is this dude.
Yeah.
One more year favors this guy, not this guy. One guy is on the downhill of his prime. One guy is ascending to his prime. Who does waiting 1 year favor? It favors Benavidez, bro. So this idea, like, what is he aging Benavidez? I'm just waiting for that one. I swear to God. I'm waiting for that he was just aging him out. And if Morrell knocks this dude out, they're going to blame Canelo, bro. Oh, see, this is Canelo's fault. Are you guys happy now? Like, it's just like, I don't know. Like, that's what's going to happen.
They sound like the Haney fanboys with that. Haney fanboys will tell you, you know, he didn't want to face us 3 years ago. Why? So he could age himself out? He's aging himself out by Lomachenko's aging himself out.
That's another situation, though, right? That's another situation that was completely circumstantial. Haney was an interim champion, bro. Okay? Mm-hmm. And Top Rank wanted to do the undisputed fight with Lomachenko and Loma. Now, Loma, for some strange reason, and this is where it all falls to, so he could do the fight with Teofimo for undisputed, he asked to be franchised, right? But then he lost. He lost the fight to Teofimo.
Yeah.
And then he had surgery. Then he came back and fought, who was it, Nakatani?
Nakatani and Comey.
Yeah, so when did he duck Haney?
It's not there.
Like when?
And it's the other side too. I just don't understand why people can't enjoy good fights. It's the other side too. Is I like Malignaggi, but Malignaggi with his Haney's been ducking Lomachenko. It's just not there. Neither guy has ducked.
Hey, by the way, I agree with what Bray is saying. Yes, Top Rank didn't want to do Perspire with the zone and her. I know that because they wanted to do the undisputed fight with Teofimo. Well, what's the bigger fight at the time? Be honest. Teofimo Loma did like 4 million viewers on ESPN. It was a big event.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, you can't, like, he was fighting Teofimo, an undefeated dude at the time, and he ended up, and it was a dangerous fight. We know it was dangerous because he lost the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So, bro, it's, all I'm saying is, Haney's whole career, they don't want to fight me, but, like, Jojo's going to duck me, and then Jojo fights him. Like, you know what I mean? Linares doesn't want to fight me, and Linares fought him. Like, you know, Loma never wanted to fight me, then he's fighting him. Like, it is what it is, bro. Plus, you're closer to your prime, and this guy's getting older. So, like you said, what was he aging himself out?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense. It was just circumstantial. If you look at the circumstances, 99% of you would have done the same thing. You would have gone for undisputed.
Yeah.
Like, you know you would have. Now, I don't want to get in the whole, like, but it wasn't undisputed because he got franchised. That's not the point. The point was he was the WBC champion. Haney was an interim. I don't consider interim champions. Like, I'm sorry, Benavidez is not a champion. All right? Right now. Interim champion is not a champion to me. But he was elevated to the regular champion status. By the time when that happened, he was already signed to fight Teofimo, and then he lost and he had surgery. When did the ducking happen? If you want to say he ducked him because he went for undisputed instead, like that was his intention, then okay, fine. But hey.
Yeah, before I get to this comment, 2 things that are frustrating is going back to the fan stuff we were talking about is unlike other fans, we're going to give full credit to these fighters if they do what we've been asking them to do. Benavidez wins, Morrell Jr. will give him full credit. We're already there with the Canelo fight. And the same thing with Tank. If Tank goes on a run, not only will we give them credit, we could become their fans. I mean, we'll support them financially. We'll buy the fights. I'll even travel to the fights. So, you know, it's just a frustrating process when you have that much of a disconnect with fans, fellow fans, and we're not properly delivering demand to the suppliers because you have some whacked out demand because unfortunately people want to protect their favorite fighters instead of simply demanding fights that are going to make for other great fighters that we can all be fans of. Nando Yaman says, we thought PBC Showtime was on the way out, but PBC Empire Strikes Back, Emperor Al, Darth Tank. Is Shakur going to be Luke Skywalker? Now, I don't completely understand the question because I've never seen Star Wars. That's Star Wars, right? Never seen it. So,
well, let me put it real simple to you. Have you seen The Matrix?
Yes.
Right. So in this analogy, Al Heyman would be the machine or whatever it was in The Matrix, right? The Matrix. Did you say that? And Tankus is like his numero uno agent, like whoever the baddest dude agent is, and the Shakur the chosen one. Is he?
So we think Shakur is the chosen one who could do this. Now going to PBC Showtime is I think they're fully adopting a pay-per-view model at this point, right? Is they can't fit it in the budget. They can't do Benavidez.
Well, in fairness to Tank, his pay-per-view, especially now, are going to be because that's how they're going to make profits, right? The other fights are because the networks don't want to pay the fees, right? It's two different dynamics, but yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so I think we're going to go to a model in which we're going to see more of these fights at the top made, and they're all going to be pay-per-view because they feel like that's the only pathway forward, right? Is the money's running out for fights like Benavidez versus Lemieux that you put on regular Showtime. You can't trick the market into buying fights like Wilder versus Helenius. People just aren't going to buy it. So I think they're at the point where they know they have to put on the best fights. They got to put on the Plant versus Benavidez. They have to put on Benavidez versus Morrell Jr., Benavidez versus Charlo. Or it's going to be a Tank versus a Isak Cruz rematch, and they'll try to sell stuff like that. But I think we're at that point, and it's a good thing because we're going to get more fights. We're going to pay more out of our pocket, but at least we're going to get more fights. So I guess I would have to take that trade off. But I think that's where we're at, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm wondering if they're going to try to duplicate or replicate, I should say, this Tank thing. Like, are they going to start taking this route, this fake it till we make it? Just keep repeating that they're pay-per-view stars. Just keep saying it over and over again. Speak it into existence somehow. I think it's going to be harder because, first of all, you're going to need a fighter like Tank who's exciting, who's a puncher, who's a knockout artist that could win and then like sell out arenas. And it's just a certain it factor Tank does have, to be honest with you, that you can't just give to anybody. You know what I mean? It's not going to be that easy. But let me tell you, man, I think they're going to try it. Like they're doing it with Benavidez already. He's the Mexican monster. He's the new sheriff in town. He runs Vegas. He's the new Mexican running shit. It's not Canelo. Canelo's fighting in Mexico. Nobody wanted to see his fight in Vegas. And like, facts be damned. We're going to put a perception out there. We're going to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again, true or not, right? And it seems to me, if it works, then fuck it, all promoters should do it, right? But you know what I'd rather them say? We're going to make the best fight the best. Just keep saying it over and over again, and maybe we'll get it, bro. Maybe.
How much of this, let's say the pay-per-view buys are $1 million, how much of that is attributed to it being Ryan? Like, Ryan, even though he's a B-side, he has twice as many social media.
This is what it is, bro. Look. And I'll give Joe Beep credit for this. He uses this term, and I agree with it. Sometimes two fighters together create synergy. Okay? So Wilder, which is some B-level opponent, Doesn't sell anything. It doesn't even get 100,000. I don't think. Like, how many buys did he get?
57,000, I think.
Nothing, right? Got nothing. All the he's a heavy hitter. He's exciting. Doesn't matter. Tyson Fury by himself in the States doesn't sell shit either.
Right, like Klitschko.
Like you know what I mean? He was on pay-per-view against White. I don't even think they released the numbers here. You know, whatever. He fought out a wall in half-empty arena. It is what it is. But when you put them together, maybe not now because they already fought 3 times. But when you put them together, right? They did 300,000 in the first fight, 800,000 in the second fight, and they did 600,000 in the third fight. Now you can't add it up together because like you can't take 50,000 and 50,000 and it's 100,000. No, but when they fight each other, there's something about the bill with both names that creates this synergy and that attracts people, right? De La Hoya Trinidad, none of them came close to 1 million buys before they fight each other, right? De La Hoya was doing like 500,000 or something against Chavez, and Trinidad was doing less than that. So you couldn't add them both together and they did 1.4. But when they fought each other, the synergy happened at 1.4. De La Hoya, the most he had ever done was 1.4. The most Mayweather had ever done was 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
If you add it up, at most, it should be 1.7, Calix. But when they fought each other, they did 2.6.
Mm-hmm.
The most Mayweather ever done was 2.6. The most Pacquiao had ever done was 1.2 or something like that. Right?
Mayweather and Pacquiao's numbers were going down until they fought each other. It did 4.6.
Yeah, but here's my point. 2.6, 1.2, so 3.8 at the most if you add it together, but they did 4.6 together, right? So and to your credit, yes, the numbers were dropping. Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis together created a synergy because Ryan has no history selling pay-per-view. Ryan's last fight had empty seats in the arena, right? Tank Davis had never come close to 20 million at the gate, but this time did 5 times the most he's ever done. And then if the reports are true that he did close to 1 million, if not more for this fight, he did 5 times more than he's ever done.
Right.
I didn't add, they multiplied, right? I just think it's unique to this fight. This might sound heartbreaking to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like Haney, Tank for Undisputed might not sell with the soul. It might do really good.
I don't know.
No, I agree with you, and I'm hoping like it might do more, it might do less. Is my point. We just don't know. There's not enough data with these guys on pay-per-view to know. Let's see what Haney does against Loma, but even then, that doesn't matter because we've seen guys that don't sell anything. One more example: Marquez couldn't sell shit by himself. Like I love Marquez. One of my favorite fighters of all time.
Right.
When he fought Casamayor, that shit did 50,000, bro. The arena was half empty. He was fighting on regular HBO, and I love this fight. I love his lightweight run. One of the best runs of lightweight ever, by the way. But I fucking love that run. But hey, he was doing this. He was on regular HBO, bro.
Yeah, he was.
And but guess what? When he fought Pacquiao the third time, they surpassed 1 million.
It
when
did.
He fought him the fourth time, surpassed 1 million.
In Live Gate too, he needed that name because Juan Diaz, when they fought in Houston, boy, did they sell out. That fight sold out.
I mean, he needed the right fight. It's like this, man. Sometimes somebody's a pizza, and people are going to laugh, and they're going to be all you're acting like Teddy Atlas now, this style. But sometimes someone's a pizza, right? And look, have you ever gone to a store and said, "Man, I'm going to buy some pepperoni"? Like just to buy pepperoni. Have you ever bought pepperoni by itself?
Just a pepperoni pizza?
No, not pizza. Just pepperoni.
No.
Like have you ever made a trip to Walmart just to buy pepperoni?
No, I've never done it.
Right, but have you ordered pepperoni pizza?
Oh yeah.
What's the most popular topping on a pizza?
Pepperoni.
Well, you know what? Pacquiao was a pizza, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when he fought Marquez, that shit was pepperoni pizza. You know what I mean? And people love that, right? So this time, Tank was the pizza. For whatever reason, Tank was that. maybe, I don't know, like maybe they was just used to Tank giving them garbage with the pizza. That like when they had an actual topping, they were like, man, okay. but that's basically what it is.
They got tired of cheese pizza.
Yeah, not even cheese. It was just like he just sprinkled cheese on top. You know what I mean? And buy it, but now this time there was an actual pizza with pepperoni on it. Oh fuck yeah, I'm gonna buy it. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm afraid that we fall in love with, like a fighter could fall in love with the punch and overcommit to it. I'm afraid that PBC falls in love with these numbers, whatever they become, and thinks that, and they undervalue what Ryan brought to the table as far as the numbers. They undervalue, like you said, the synergy or the chemistry between the two, and that they together 16 million followers on Instagram, and they can put that together and multiply the buys. I'm afraid that they fall in love with this and think that they can go back to.
There's another factor, Cal. There's something else people are overlooking with Tank, right? And I'll tell you what it is. It takes a special type of person to make anywhere from 30 to like Canelo, man. I think with Rocky Fielding, he made like 15 million, but after that, he was making like 30, like anywhere from high 20s to 40 million a fight. Right, every time out. Look how active he was that 1 year. He was making bank. He made over 50 million against Plant for sure. This guy and Ryan as well, by the way, they've made money they never seen before, bro.
Yeah,
with the pay-per-view, like they're making like over 20 million. How is Tank gonna handle that? I don't think people have even thought about that. How is Tank Davis going to handle this? Like now, all that money being thrown in his face in his bank account, right? How is he going to deal with that? Like how he might deal with it just fine, but is he going to stay dedicated in the ring? Right? Is he going to? He's used to making millions, but now he's making like a lot of money.
You talking about Tank?
Tank Davis, yes. You know, is he going to get like maybe complacent and not really care about boxing that much, or, you know, maybe not start the camp as early as you usually does? It could be anything. He might not arrive on time all the time. A lot of guys start making good money, bro. And hey, and one more thing. Yesterday I said Canelo has done $1 million twice. He's actually done it 3 times.
That was
Golovkin, Chavez,
and he's done 2 million once with Mayweather.
Yeah, but they're going to say it doesn't count.
But it does.
It does.
But it goes back to synergy. Is yes. Mayweather's numbers were once again going down, and then Canelo brought those numbers 100%. Up.
Yeah,
multiplied them. So you got to give him credit for that. And I mean, just to go back to it a little bit, is all he has to do is fight the fights. It's really simple. They try to overcomplicate it, but it's really that simple. It's fighting the fights. What is that? You know what I love about Gervonta Davis? He actually fights. This brother is special.
I mean, look, bro, I think Canelo's doing it wrong, bro. I think he just gives the perception that he's fighting the best and don't really try to fight the best.
Mm-hmm.
What I think.
You can't separate that process, and you can't trick the market for that long. Eventually, you have to fight the fights. And that's what Mayweather shows us, right? Is if you look at his career, he was fighting Robert Guerrero's, Marcos Maidana's, but he realized, I think it was after the second Marcos Maidana fight, 4 months later, he fights Canelo. I think that's what happened. Is he sees the numbers going down, and he realizes, I can't sell what I want to sell, what the market thinks I'm going to sell by fighting Robert Guerrero's, Marcos Maidana's. I eventually have to step up and fight the Canelo Alvarez. I think
Maidana was after Canelo, believe it or not.
Is it?
Yeah.
You might be right.
It was Robert Guerrero. It was a 6-fight deal with Robert Guerrero, Canelo, Maidana, Pacquiao, Berto. That's what. Then he did a one-off with McGregor.
So the Pacquiao fight was 4 months after the second Maidana fight. Then that's
no. It was a year later. He fought Pacquiao in May. He fought Maidana in May and then September.
Okay.
Then he came back in May and fought Pacquiao. Then he ended his career with Berto in September. With Berto, I mean, it is what it is. And then he fought McGregor.
Yeah, I mean, but he knew he had to fight the fights at some point. and he fought the fights. What I don't want to see is that type of career from Tank Davis, because like I said, the beautiful thing about Tank is he knocks guys out. So even if he loses, you still have that factor. But I don't want them to fall in love with these numbers and say, I can go fight a Rolly Romero at 140, because that's just not going to happen. We can't let that happen. We can't have that happen. And that's when the demand and the pushback has to be there from boxing fans. That's why we have to be educated about this and say, no, you're not going to fight Raleigh at 140. No, we don't want to see a rematch with Isak Cruz. It was a good fight. It was a close fight. Some people argue Isak won, but we don't need to see it again. We don't need to see the threadbare. What we want to see, we need to be clear about this. What we want to see is Tank Davis versus the Devin Haney Lomachenko winner.
Okay, what's frustrating about
real quick though, D-Style, what Tank Davis, his part in this needs to be, he needs to be clear and concise about what he wants. That way 100%. We can be clear and concise about our reaction to it. What I want to see is Tank Davis make this clear. This fight May 20th, I want the winner of it. And I'm putting pressure on the other side. And if the fight doesn't happen, it's not because of our side. It's not because of me, because I'm being clear about what I want as a fighter.
Yeah, look, what I'm going to say is this. I want to go back to the Stephen A comment. It's so frustrating to see people that don't follow the sport, don't cover the sport, pay very minimal attention to the sport, come out and make matter-of-fact statements like, oh, the reason I love Tank is he actually fights. When, like, I'm not saying, yes, he gets in the ring and he fights, Stephen A. You know what I mean? But if you actually follow boxing, you'll understand that he's not fighting the top 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
He's not fighting the best. I never seen Stephen A. come out and make a statement like this about Devin Haney, right? I never seen him say this about Lomachenko. I never see him come out and even say this about Canelo. Now, granted, he might mean that he comes out there and he likes to like slug it out. He doesn't like dance around like a ballerina or something. Maybe that's what he means. But he's like Alan says, he's a casual, bro. Like you can't just make like you're giving this guy credit for something for doing like the bare minimum, you know. It's like I would hate for this dude to be the GM at my job and like give some dude that never comes to work like all the accolades, you know. Employee of the month goes to Larry over there, even though dude like never does the hard work, you know. I mean, I'm just saying, like it's just crazy, bro.
And one thing I wanted to touch on is Williams Zepeda fight Saturday, and I'm gonna be talking about that tomorrow on the channel. We'll be talking about Williams Zepeda, the Mexican Murder Hornet, is back. One of the most intriguing fighters in the sport because he's a guy who can throw upwards of 100 punches per round. And he's just going to be a problem for anybody because of that style. But he's also one of those guys that will lose fights, much like a Jaime Munguia. And this is the issue I have as well with Golden Boy's matchmaking at times. Golden Boy's vision for fighters is it goes back to false packaging, right? Is we don't need these guys to be protected. We don't need them to be promoted as top 10 pound for pound guys. We don't need them to be promoted as the best fighter in their division. We don't need any of that. What we want is simply for you to put Jaime Munguia and Williams Zepeda in the fights. That's it. That's all you need to do. So I don't like when I see Shakur Stevenson come out on Twitter and openly call out Williams Zepeda and say, hey, I'll fight you. You having problems finding fights? I'll fight you. Let's do the fight. You know, we're in contact with your promoter. Get back to us. And then they say, no, we're not going to do it at this time. No, because Shakur Stevenson, if he loses that fight, nobody's going to be like, oh, my God, Williams Zepeda lost to Shakur Stevenson. I'll never watch him fight again. We keep it moving. These are simply guys that you can fight quarterly. You should be fighting these guys 3-4 times per year against whoever is available at the time. And if guys are ducking them, you fight the best competition available, and then you openly say, these guys are ducking me. But when you come out and you say, we're not going to do Shakur Stevenson at that time, it takes away from his aura and what the packaging should be. And the packaging should be any place, anytime. Any place, anytime. Shakur Stevenson in Newark, New Jersey, fine. Let's go. Let's do the fight. Cross promotion, do it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, look. I agree 100%. Like Golden Boy. I I feel like Top Rank was in the same kind of. They were doing the same thing about like 6-7 years ago. But Top Rank like adjusted themselves. They got with the times, and then you know what I mean. I feel like Golden Boy is still stuck like at an older way of like. Do you remember those years? They were like 2014-ish, 2015. Like everything was super. Like I wasn't even active talking boxing on YouTube. That's how bad it was. You know what I mean?
That's
like
when that's when the rosters were getting purged by PBC.
Yeah, like but even before that though, like they've always had this habit of over protecting fighters, bro. You know what I mean? Like Oscar has this habit of selling a bill of goods that everyone knows is bullshit. You know, it's like with Munguia. What are you doing, bro? Like Munguia should be like you should be promoting this guy. Like when someone buys a ticket for Jaime Munguia, they're not thinking like, oh yeah, this guy is the best shit in sliced bread. No, they're thinking, man, I'm gonna get my money's worth if this comes to fight. There's one thing I know for sure. I'm gonna get a barn burner. Right?
He should be Arturo Gatti type characters.
That's what I've been saying. Like they should be promoting him as an action fighter, and that's a real thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's this obsession with the O that it's even translated to like action fighters. And we never given a fuck about the O with those type of fighters.
No,
like we don't give a shit if Jaime Munguia is undefeated, bro.
It's what worked with Arturo Gatti was it was a perfect mixture of. He's in the fun fights. He's in the Mickey Ward trilogies. You can put him in there with Thomas Domgard. He makes $2 million to fight those fights. He sells out Atlantic City. He becomes a staple there. He becomes a franchise there. But at the same time, occasionally he steps up and fights the fights. Occasionally, Oscar De La Hoya calls him out. He'll step up, fight the Oscar De La Hoya. He'll fight the Floyd Mayweather. And I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was going to happen when he fought Floyd Mayweather. It was like being led to a slaughter. I'm going to buy this pay-per-view. I'm going to purchase this pay-per-view, and then we're going to fight this fight, and we're going to lose this fight. But guess what? I was emotionally invested in Arturo Gatti because I knew he was going to do the step-up fights. I knew he was going to fight the step-up fights. But I also knew even if he lost, I'm still there. Why? Because he cared enough to care about trying to be the best. He cared enough to care about fighting for real belts, trying to be the best in this weight class, but he was an action fighter at the end of the day. They didn't try to cut that out. They didn't try to over promote him as this pound for pound, package him as a pound for pound talent, the best in his division. He was never that. We never expected that of him. We appreciated that he tried. We appreciated that he attempted. He fell back down, but guess what? At the end of the day, what was he? He was a guy that was going to step in the ring with anybody, but when he stepped in the ring with other action fighters, it was a thing of beauty, and you knew you were going to get a fun fight, even if it wasn't elite level, even if it wasn't 2 top 4 or 5 guys in the division. It was still, there was a market for it. There's a market for these fights, and the promoters are not giving us this market. They're not giving us the market of the action fights. They are holding back. They're withholding fights like William Zepeda against whoever, Jaime Munguia against whoever, quarterly. Fight these guys 3 or 4 times per year because guess what? I know William Zepeda wants to fight. I know Jaime Munguia wants to fight. I know that's not coming from William Zepeda when he says, no, Shakur, right now, no. I know that's not coming from him because I know that's not who he is. And when are we rubbed the wrong way by fighters in their teams? When they don't behave like themselves. And that's the disconnect right now between a William Zepeda camp and the fans, a Jaime Munguia camp and the fans, is they're simply not giving us who they are. We're just expecting these fighters to be action fighters. That's it. Become action fighters. Just fight in action fights. Every once in a while, occasionally, you can step up, fight the fights. If a Shakur Stevenson calls you out, you fight Shakur Stevenson anytime, any place. But then you can fight 2 action fights, winnable fights, and be in fun fights, and we're still there. It's frustrating.
It's really frustrating. Not to say the fighter's blameless. No, nobody's blameless. Like, you know what I mean? But in the case of Golden Boy, when it comes to specific fighters, I think they're moving them wrong. I think they're moving. I can't speak for Speedy Alice, okay, but I can't speak for Munguia in terms of. I don't think they're moving them right. I don't think they're doing right by Munguia. I think they're protecting him way too much. And it's not even making him a better fighter. Like if Munguia were to be tested, yes, he would have some losses on his record, right? But he would actually become a better, more dangerous fighter in the process, right? He's being treated with kid gloves, and I feel like this protection of the old thing has spilled over to all promotional companies, and I just don't like it. Like I just don't. It's not until they lose the old that they get brave enough to just put him out there, right? Like Robeisy Ramirez, that first professional loss in his first fight was probably the best thing that could have happened to him.
Yeah.
Because after that, they were like, well, look, man, we're going to have to, like, it is what it is. We're going to, either you fly or you don't. And he started fucking flying.
Yeah.
Right? So who knows what they would be doing with him right now. If then again, he's with Top Rank. And Top Rank's moving a little different now, bro. They are. All right? They've started to move a little better.
Yeah. And I don't need Munguia to be that dude. I don't need him to be the top guy. You know, and Nando's right in this. I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around. Like Munguia Charlo should have been made, and I think that's mostly on Showtime, right? It's network stuff. But there are other fights there that could have been made. There are other fights there that should have been made. There are guys who want to fight Jaime Munguia, and for whatever reason, like why not do Jaime Munguia versus Gennady Golovkin? I'm sure Golden Boy Golovkin is a free agent. The Zone, they can make that offer. Why aren't these offers flying? Why aren't we hearing about these offers? Perhaps they're happening behind the scenes, but in the meantime, is what I'm saying, just fight these guys. Just fight them. In the meantime, just put them in fun fights, match them correctly against other action fighters. That's what they did with Arturo Gatti. They stumbled upon Arturo Gatti. Arturo Gatti was the B-side to other action fighters, and then he knocks a guy out. He comes back in this fight, knocks a guy out. He comes back in this fight, knocks a guy out. And you accidentally created a star. And you accidentally have created the best type of star in which it doesn't matter if he loses. So you can just put him in there with whoever, and he's willing to fight whoever. Those are the best type.
Like, people knew, right? Like here's the thing. People knew Arturo Gatti had losses in his record. But for some reason, and I remember this, because Mayweather was at 135, right? And people forget this stuff, but look, when a fighter moves up in weight class, there are questions. You know what I mean? In hindsight, we could say, oh, I knew all along, but it was like a good fight for Mayweather for his first fight at 140. You know? Like, it just was. So like, I remember people talking about it, like, oh, the number, this is how they were selling it. Then, oh, I want to see, Jim Avenue goes like this. Oh, yeah, I want to see the number one pound for pound fight the most exciting fighter in the sport as he moves up. Like, that's how they were selling it to people.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone knew Gotti wasn't going to win. But here's my but, though. I don't think people expected Mayweather to do that. I think they thought Mayweather was going to just box him for 12 rounds.
Yeah.
I think that's what they thought was going to happen. So when you watch that fight, that fight is like I'm sorry, Calix, but it's a masterpiece. Like the way he just picks him apart. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. And what gets on my nerves about that fight is not the fight itself.
Instructions in the corner.
No, like there was nothing McGregor could tell Gotti.
But he was telling him to box him. Like, that's just
I mean, here's the thing. People forget Gotti was actually a pretty good boxer.
He was, like, but come on, that's not the instruction for that fight.
But the thing is, though, I think he was hoping that if he tried to box, Mayweather was going to just get on his back foot and just outpoint him the whole fight, because he could have easily done that, right? Yeah. I don't think they were expecting Mayweather to keep throwing flurries like that. Right, I think it caught them by surprise. Mayweather actually, people don't know that Mayweather actually fucked up his hands in that fight.
Yeah,
he stopped wearing Cleto Reyes after that. Like he fucked up his hands. If Gotti was if he would have been a little more durable, because I think he was a little shot worn by then, Mayweather would have just started boxing, because I'm pretty sure his hands were hurting. But here's the thing. What gets on my nerves is that people will say things like, it just gives people this idea that Gotti was just like this like nobody. You're like a bum. But I'm going to tell you, I don't care how controversial this sounds. You get a prime Arturo Gatti in a time machine, and you drop him today.
Yeah.
Him and Ramirez have a war, bro. Him and Ramirez go to war for 10 rounds, 12 rounds, whatever. I don't know who wins, but it's a war. I think Josh Hader beats him, but it's a tough fight for Josh Hader. I think Josh Hader wins like 10-9 of the rounds, but it's a tough fight.
I think he beats Ryan Garcia.
I think he beats Ryan Garcia. I think he beats Rolly Romero. I do. Like I think he beats. I don't think he beats Tank. Before somebody, do you beat Tank? No, I don't. Okay, I think Tank would eventually catch Gatti and hurt him. But Gatti would bring it though. Like Gatti, like if you think Rolly had Tank reeling, it would have lasted 1 or 2 more rounds with Gatti. Mm-hmm. I think Mickey Ward, same thing. Put him in a time machine. If Mickey Ward would hurt Ryan to the body. There's no doubt about that. He would get him against the ropes, hurt him to the body. Fighters are just built different back then. Like I'm just saying. Yes, they lost to fucking De La Hoya and Mayweather, but not Ward, but in Gotti's case, yes, he lost. He got destroyed by De La Hoya and Mayweather, but De La Hoya and Mayweather were monsters, bro.
Yeah, they were.
Like none of these dudes could fuck with that De La Hoya and Mayweather either. Mayweather 140 will fuck up any dude at 140 right now. Any one of them. Yeah. Imagine what Mayweather would do to Ryan.
Yeah, that'd be ugly. God, that'd be ugly.
I mean, imagine what he like. I think Progress would put up a fight, but I still think Mayweather beats him.
Yeah.
No offense to any of these guys. The same with De La Hoya at 147, which is where Gotti fought him. At 140, De La Hoya 147, bro.
He beats Spence.
He knocks Spence out.
He beats the boogeyman Boots.
The only one that I'm kind of 50-50, I don't know if he beats him, is Crawford. That's it.
But
Crawford's a different cloth. That dude's, he's got old school cloth, bro. So it is what it is. So
he stays in the gym constantly, yeah.
All I want people to understand is, yes, Mayweather destroyed Gotti, okay? Yes. But, I mean, Gotti was good, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, they try to make it out to where, you know, he was just this average fighter with no boxing skill and just, you know, and it's just not it.
His nickname was the Professor, bro, early in his career.
He could fight. He could fight, and he would translate better to today because as long as he would behave like himself, because we're in need of fighters like that. There is a need. There's a hole in the market there to where we just need action fighters.
Look, somebody just said Mayweather lost to Castillo and Maidana. Look, I scored the first Maidana draw, and nobody agrees on the round. So having Maidana winning is not crazy. I agree that I do feel he lost the first Castillo fight, right?
Oh yeah, me too.
But bro, like, again, get that Castillo in a time machine and drop him off today.
Yeah,
he would maul Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, I just feel like, yeah, no, you're right. Go ahead.
No, he would get Tank Davis against the ropes, bro. Like the little like oh, I'm gonna set you up with that's not enough to beat a Castillo, right? So what else you got? Remember, that's the same Mayweather, by the way, that went up and waited to destroy God. He couldn't do that to Castillo for a reason. Mm-hmm. Castillo was like, he was a chief sparring partner for years for Chavez for a reason. And this guy was really, really good. And I think people lose sight of how good the Casamayors, Castillo, Corrales. Overall, it was just a better class of fighters than we got good fighters today, but different animals.
It's different animals because they were fighting more and fighting better competition. They were sharpening the steel, all that good stuff. But I just feel like we have a surplus of fighters not achieving things. Like you was talking about yesterday, accomplishments, who are parading themselves as top 10 pound for pound talent level fighters. But what we don't have is fighters consistently fighting tough fights who are action stars. I don't necessarily need great fighters. I don't need them. I just need guys to get out there and fight. And you accidentally create guys like Arturo Gatti that way. I feel like there are Arturo Gattis out there that aren't getting their opportunities because they're simply not being put in that position in which they can become an Arturo Gatti, be accidentally I accidentally stumbled upon stardom just by simply being put in the fights and being in good fights and being in action fights. We need action fighters, and we don't have a market that can breed action fighters, right? We don't have that market that can just simply breed action fighters because we're not having those matchups the way we had them back then. So what I'm saying is, circling back to what we started at the beginning. If Tank simply fights the fights, if Benavidez simply fights the fights, if Maul Charlo comes back and simply fights the fights, the rest is going to take care of itself. Win, lose, they're going to be there, right? The win, lose, we're going to be there, whether they win or lose. We're going to support them. And they simply have to fight the fights. And it's really simple. They tried to make it complex. And I hear these boxing fans parrot these talking points and try to make things complex. It's not complex. Simply fight the fights. And by fighting the fights, you're accidentally going to build stars and build guys who just come out of nowhere, right? And I guess that would be what I have to say today, is just fight the fights. There's no reason we shouldn't be demanding Tank versus the Devin Haney Lomachenko winner. That should be what we're doing as boxing fans. We shouldn't be thinking it before we tweet it, thinking it before we come on here and saying, you know what, I don't think the politics are going to work out there, so we're not going to do that fight. We're not going to demand that fight. Let's demand something more realistic. What I'm telling you is, demand the fights that need to be made. Don't worry about what's realistic and what's not, because I guarantee you they're lying about what's realistic. I guarantee you that. Just behave like a boxing fan. Give them the correct demand, and you have a better chance of them supplying it. Right? Supply and demand. It's that simple. It's that simple.
I agree.
Any closing thoughts?
Nah, man. I feel like it's all been said. Shout out to Benavidez and Plant, all in the family all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like, it's all good. But in all seriousness, it's good to see fighters, like, it's one thing going into a fight and it's death to us part or whatever, and you're fighting like and you hate each other, but yeah, after you fight, it's over and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's something to be said about that. Like, when you share a ring with somebody.
Another guy, D-Style. Valero, good Lord. Valero's another guy you wouldn't want to see right now.
I mean, it's like when Valero remember when he beat DeMarco? And people were like, oh, yeah, but I specifically remember, some of us were impressed. I was. But some people were like, I mean, yeah, but who's he really beat, though? You know what I mean? But remember when Broner beat DeMarco? Years later? Oh, yeah. Broner is pound. They put him in the pound for pound list because he beat DeMarco.
Valero's a guy that would translate today. Costa Zoo, another guy that would translate to today. I mean, these guys that were undervalued, I feel, at the time, they would be viewed as killers today. Just absolute killers. And Valero is one of, no pun intended there, but Valero's one of them.
But shout out to Family Matters over here. Look at them, bro. They look like a nice, happy family. Look at them up there.
Nice family, happy family, beautiful women. Good for them. They made up. And once again, if Benavidez goes on a run, Tank goes on a run, we're fans. There's nothing holding us back from that. We're not fans of these fighters for surface level issues. So whoever behaves most like a fighter, we're going to be fans of. So, and we guarantee you, we're not going to move the goalposts on them.
It's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the new paper page. Remember that song from Family Matters?
Oh, yeah.
All days go by. We're going to fill our house with happiness. The moon may cry. We're going to smooth the blues with tenderness.
Carl Winslow, pound for pound, top 5 TV dad of all time. There's no doubt about that.
And now people's ears are bleeding. Thank you for putting the X's in the chat. This has been a great HCPX episode.
Peace. God bless. Y'all have a good